Okay, what if I told you the Soviet Union once had the whole world convinced it had found the ultimate recipe for progress?
It sounds wild now, but yeah. In 1957, when Sputnik went up, a lot of people were genuinely asking if central planning was, just better.
And that's a perfect way into the book we're talking about today, Carl Benedikt Frey's How Progress Ends.
It really is.
Yeah.
Because his whole argument is that there is no single best model. Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack that idea that the right system, whether it's centralized or decentralized, it all depends on the stage you're in.
The stage being either exploration or exploitation.
Exactly. And Frey tackles these huge questions like why the Industrial Revolution happened in England of all places.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that initial discovery, the exploration part, what kind of environment does he say we need?
For that, you need the total opposite of a 5-year plan.
Right. You need decentralized systems. Small firms, not a lot of government interference. He says exploration thrives in ubiquitous uncertainty. Basically an environment where planning is almost guaranteed to fail because the best ideas are just too weird.
And that's where the fun stuff happens. I mean, planning is the enemy of those big serendipitous breakthroughs. You see it perfectly with the mRNA story.
Oh, the COVID vaccine story is the perfect example. The key breakthrough came from Catalin Carrico and Drew Weissman. And how did they connect?
They just happened to meet at a Xerox machine.
At a Xerox machine.
Yeah.
They just started talking. And that conversation led to the 2005 paper that, cracked the whole thing open.
And the really wild part is that their research had been rejected for grants before. It was called too far-fetched. It just needed luck.
It needed luck, but Frey argues the system has to be set up to allow for that luck, right?
Right.
So you look at the U.S. patent system, which was designed with low fees to be really democratic. Or, and this is a great one, the California Civil Code of 1872.
That outlawed non-compete agreements.
It outlawed non-competes. That's what fueled the job hopping in Silicon Valley that spread knowledge so fast.
Okay, so luck and a decentralized system give you a breakthrough. But that system isn't good at the next step, is it?
No, it hits a wall.
Yeah.
Once you have a prototype, you need to shift gears entirely.
You need brute force. You need the visible hand.
Precisely. That's the exploitation stage. It's
Yeah.
all about mass production, cutting costs, efficiency. And that is where command and control bureaucratic organizations are king.
Like the USSR.
The USSR was brilliant at this. They just skipped exploration. They imported technology. They literally copied the Ford River Rouge plant for their GAZ factory and used central planning to just massively scale up industries like cement.
Okay, but hold on. If they were so good at scaling and they launched Sputnik first, even though the U.S. invented the underlying tech, why didn't that system just win?
And that is the absolute core paradox of the whole book. Centralization is amazing for targeted goals like Sputnik, for exploitation. But it's terrible at everything else. The Soviet system could get a satellite into orbit, but it completely failed to translate that into, a broader civilian telecommunications network like the U.S. did. The visible hand is a one-trick pony.
So that big scaling machine, it also means you have to be able to push past the old guard, the companies that are already there.
Yes. That's Frey's third big point. Innovation is creative destruction, and incumbents will always, always fight back to protect their profits. Progress depends on the state being strong enough to tell them to get out of the way.
And you see this so clearly in history. England's parliament after 1688 could just pass acts to build canals and override local interests. But in the Dutch Republic...
In the Dutch Republic, the guilds literally sank a new mechanized postal vessel because they were afraid of the competition.
They sank it.
Sank it. I mean, that's an extreme example of what he calls a veto player. You saw the same thing in China, with guilds rioting to destroy imported sewing machines. Progress just stopped.
So you need a state that's strong enough to clear that path.
Absolutely. When Napoleon's legal code, the Code Napoleon, was imposed on parts of Germany, it broke the power of local guilds. And what happened? A huge upsurge in patents and innovation in those specific territories.
So if you need this really delicate, balanced, decentralized freedom to explore and a strong state to clear the path for exploitation, where are we today with that?
Well, that's the scary part. If you look at the U.S. since about 2000, Antitrust enforcement has just plummeted.
And lobbying has skyrocketed.
Exactly. Big companies spend fortunes influencing regulators. Many people are calling it a new Gilded Age.
The danger isn't just that companies get big. The danger is that they stop innovating and start lobbying. They become those guilds using politics to block the next breakthrough.
Which leaves a really important question for you, the listener.
Yeah.
We count on that disruptive competition for progress. But what happens when today's giants get so good at writing the rules that they can throttle the entire future of exploration? How do we break that cycle?